Who's the CEO of Twitch? Does the CEO stream? What's the best way for creators to grow? I got an interview with the CEO of Twitch and asked him all these questions and more. Enjoy. What did you do before becoming the CEO of Twitch? What was your journey?
So my journey, I've always been someone who's enjoyed doing different things, and I moved around professionally. And one thing I talk about a lot is in undergrad and in high school, I actually did a lot of theater. I was president of the drama club in high school and in college. And I really had two sides to who I was. I was also really good at math, and I was getting a degree in computer science, but I also got a degree in theater. And then I went off and used my technical degree. But people used to always look for the intersection of these two things, and I was like, no, they're just two interests. And then after that, I eventually got my PhD in computer science and AI. I went and worked at NASA for a while, for 7 years, where I ran a lot of their kind of AI and computer science research. I was at Google for 9 years, where I ran product and engineering at YouTube. I did a project called Google Book Search. I ran a research group there. And then I was at a startup called Nextdoor, and then I came to Twitch about 4 years ago, and I came to run product and engineering, and then gradually did more stuff at Twitch. So, but I've always kind of moved, done different things, and I've always liked to blend both my kind of technical skills with the creative side of my personality.
That is okay. Well, we're wildly similar then. I have an associate's in computer science, and I just changed my major. I'm pursuing information and systems. So I'm going for that side of things and more like web development. But that's interesting though, that we both have like a similar interest there that we share.
When I was young, it was like, I've never heard of that. But I find it much more now. I think it's because, technical stuff is more common. But and you see this all the time at Twitch. In fact, I just did a stream. I did this stream with SB Simone, Chelsea Bites, and Jermaine Plays. And actually, all three of them did stuff with computers, and all three of them also had some form of a drama background.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, maybe that's just one common interest shared around. I guess at least most Twitch streamers that you've interacted with.
I think part of it is those people that are drawn to Twitch. A big part about Twitch is being an improvisational performer. And so I think it does attract people that had that, that kind of background.
I actually don't have a background with improv too much, but what I did is I spent a lot of times in Discord calls, just hanging out with my friends. And over the years, like during COVID, I definitely spent a lot of time in Discord, which I'm sure a lot of people can relate to. But over those couple of years, because I only started streaming almost a year ago now, a lot of people would tell me, because I would just share my screen and just kind of talk. They just kept saying, you'd make a good Twitch streamer. You should stream on Twitch. So finally, I went ahead and did it. And I found a comfortable way of doing it, because I didn't really want to share my face, but VTubing was a really good medium.
I do find it very interesting because, I think there are people that they both don't want to change their face. And, it's sometimes we can be more comfortable being ourselves when our image isn't out there, right? And so you can be your true self, and it's so hard to be your true self in the world because there's so many impressions, and with VTubing, so many, I think a lot of people are able to be their true selves because they separate themselves from the visual image.
I have another question for you here, which is a lot of members in my community, and including myself, are all small creators. And we wanted to know, since you're the CEO of Twitch, you might know a thing or two. So what are your recommendations for growth on Twitch and as a content creator?
Normally, I'd say I'm a bad person to ask it. Now, interestingly, I've been doing it myself. Okay, streaming, and that's one of the things that benefits from streaming myself, because I learn some of the struggles, and while obviously I get folks that come because they hear the CEO is streaming, but usually that doesn't keep them coming, right? That gets them to appear for, and I haven't really tried to play that card in the content I create. In other words, I don't like seek out so that I'm always with big streamers or anything like that. And
Mhm.
I'd say for me, the thing that every streamer has told me over and over and over again is the foundation of growing on Twitch is collaboration. You need to find, because for someone to really enjoy what you're doing, they need to spend time with you and say, oh, and get comfortable with you. And I think, finding ways to collaborate so people like, it takes time to build that affinity that happens in the channel. It doesn't just happen one time because they watch you and go, wow, they're amazing. You have to watch them. It happens over repeated experiences that create that really sense of belonging community.
Another question I have for you is, why did you start streaming? Did you start it just for yourself, or was it mainly because you wanted to see like what it's like, so you can get more of a perspective as the CEO? What led you to begin this journey?
So I had played around with it some, and I kind of enjoyed it, but I didn't commit to doing it regularly, and so I would like try every now and then. When I became CEO, I said, okay, no, now I'm going to commit to do it on a regular schedule, which, everyone that tells anyone who's streaming, you have to commit to a regular schedule. You can't just like do it when you feel up to it.
Yeah.
And so I said, oh, I'm going to stream once a week. And initially I did it to, sort of experience what everyone was doing, play around with features. But then I really kept doing it for the same reason I think that you stream. It's because I enjoy it. I enjoy the community. I enjoy, I play music and sing when I stream for my community. I like to play the piano and sing. I go to an open mic and I'd play 3 songs, and then, okay, time to move on. And there are different open mics where maybe they'd be paying attention or maybe they wouldn't be paying attention. And eventually I was like, well, I can sit on stream on Twitch for 3 hours and, get like on average, 50 to 100 people listening to me, and I can play as many of my songs as I want.
Other than Twitch, I know that you have some more adventurous hobbies. What are your hobbies besides your interest in Twitch and music?
So I love being outdoors. So I do a lot of whitewater kayaking. And so this is in Rapids, and I started that like 3 years ago. I also like to mountain bike. I like to hike. So in general, I spend a fair amount of time outdoors. I did 2 Ironman over the last like 4 years. So I run.
What are those?
Ironman is when you you swim 2.4 miles, you bike 125 miles, and you run 26 miles, all back to back.
I can't even run a mile, to be honest. That's amazing.
Let me give you because I was not a regular runner until 2017. A trick for me was I said to myself, I'm going to run 5 times a week, and each time I have to run just a mile. But I have to run 10 miles in the week. So on any single run, it counted as one of the 5 if I ran a mile. But I was going to count how many weeks in a row I was able to run 5 times in the week and get 10 miles. And my original thought was, oh, I'll do it 10 weeks. And then I'd say, great, next time I'll do 11. Right? And I stopped needing to do it 5 days once I started biking and swimming. And now I've run 10 miles a week every week since 2017. But the key was this idea of just saying, I just have to run 1 mile. 3 times a week I couldn't maintain. 5 times a week, it has to be a daily habit, and you have to gamify it. And that's what made all the difference for me, was gamifying it, where I tried to beat my record.
Getting started is definitely the hardest part. So getting that first mile out of the way, I understand what you're saying. Of like just getting one and then you're already sweaty, you might as well do another. I actually use that same piece of advice for like making content or anything. Like I'll have to schedule out what I'm gonna be streaming and all, and once I get like one stream fully planned and formatted, then it's like, okay, I might as well do the whole week. And then like Sundays are like my big prep days of the week. I do have a few rapid fire community questions that I had a lot of people submit. Will Twitch add animated emotes for tier 1 and tier 3? What one of my collab partners today really wants to see if that can happen, because it would add more incentive as well for subbing at higher tiers.
It's one thing we're always thinking about, how to do tier 2 and tier 3, and everybody likes animated emotes. Of course, it takes effort for creators to create animated emotes.
Of course, yeah.
And so one of the things we always are sort of thinking through is this question of the tier 2 and tier 3 subs, and the degree to which there's more opportunity by adding more value there. And we're always a little torn. We'd love to do it. It's a question of prioritization. One thing that we've seen is a lot of the people, like when we first had tier 1, tier 2, tier 3s, we didn't have gift subs.
That's my boy.
And so that was the way that people would express greater affinity. With gift subs, a lot of people, what we found is like that need to say, no, I'm a big fan. They manifest that through their gift subs. But we're always thinking through, should we do more for tier 2 or tier 3? And it's purely a question of trading it against other priorities in terms of, and I can't tell you that necessarily the answers we always come up with are the right ones, because we don't know, right? What's going to drive more revenue for creators?
That's my boy.
And so I'll definitely mention that to the monetization team, because I think they're thinking of how do you add more animated emotes.
Another question I had is I'm not partnered yet, but I'm going to be commissioning a lot of artists for emotes. So I wanted to ask this. I know partners have like different tiers to get more emotes. Do you think Twitch would ever consider adding a few more emotes for affiliates if they hit like certain sub point goals?
We definitely talked about doing things that the affiliates are a critical part of the ecosystem, and how do we do things that kind of give some benefit as you stay along the path to keep plotting your way. And I really think it's important for us to think through the continuum, since so many of our streamers are really affiliates and often a long way from partner, right? And so it's one thing that we're trying to think through and look at.
I know you've talked before about like you used to play at open mics, and then Twitch is a way for you to play in front of people and get that same sort of social experience. But what, in your opinion, would you say Twitch is for? Like, what is its place in the world?
So first of all, it's always, as we talk about Twitch's place in the world, you need to, there's this answer of that question for streamers and the answer to the question for viewers. Okay. I'm going to focus, the foundation of Twitch ultimately are the streamers, right? They're the ones that make the communities. But as we talk about its place in the world, so often people are asking about that from the perspective of like the service that it offers to viewers. And I think it's very unique. We often get described as a social media company, but the phrase I use is we're a long form community-based social media company. And so I'm going to tease that apart, because first of all, the experience about Twitch is about long form viewing. It's a lean back, lean forward experience where you can hang out, you can chill for a while, you can get distracted because someone pings you on your phone, and you can start whenever you want and you can stop whenever you want. And I think that's really an important part. It's I just want to relax. Twitch, you can turn it on, you can multitask, but you can lean forward whenever you want, right? And you can lean back, and when something interesting, you lean forward. And but the magic of Twitch is then the community, because and that's why I say a community driven. Most social media platforms are not really about community. Everybody in your stream realizes it. Is many of these smaller communities where the phrase I use, there's this old 80s sitcom called Cheers, where they have a tagline, a place where everyone knows your name. And that's what we all yearn for as people. And Twitch gives you a place where you can hang out, you can be entertained, and you find a place where everyone knows your name. And they show up and they call out your name and celebrate you. And as humans, we yearn for that acceptance. The thing that makes Twitch work is the creators have a stage, and people stay watching them on that stage and aren't distracted. And then that gives a very different experience.
Would say
That's
just
my
looking
boy.
at like a little bit
No,
of
my boy.
statistics,
Father help.
for a personal experience for me, like TikTok and YouTube, I've only been creating like shorts, but also in Twitter as well. The conversion rate to like Discord is pretty big for me because that's where communities can really like come together and you can get like, yeah, even more of like a personal feel and everybody can get to know each other more. But on Twitch, a lot of people that come into the streams stick around for like an hour. They do tend to join like the Discord more often and then be active in there, and it's a really nice, experience. So I think
Yep.
Twitch, yeah, being more community driven, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Discord, of course, also is a community, right? And
Yeah.
that's the difference. Discord is, people build communities in Discord, and it's a different. The phrase I use is we are a synchronous community, and people often focus on the video, but a huge part of what really matters is what I would call is the synchronous community, because you're there at the same time. And in the end, I do think a big part of true community is about shared experiences together.
I've got another question now that I just thought of because you did mention video games. Do you play video games? And if so, which one's your favorite?
Yeah, I'm not a video game player. I've often talked about this. I just when I was in high school, there weren't you couldn't buy a PlayStation or an Xbox or anything like that. So if I was probably 8 years younger, then I might have had one, and I might have gamed. My brother, who's 8 years younger than I am, he did a lot of gaming. But by the time they came out, I was sort of out working, and it just takes a certain amount of time to get good. I gamed with my son some, but I was horrible. So it's not that I don't enjoy it. It's just I have a lot of stuff that I like, and so I can enjoy it. I just haven't spent enough time where I get good at it. A lot of the social games, I think I'd enjoy Among Us or the social games like that.
Oh wow, seeing you play like Among Us on stream or maybe with a collab with people would be really interesting. Yeah. This is the last question, and it's a bit of a big one. So what are the top 2 pieces of advice that you would give your younger self? And this doesn't necessarily mean just professionally, just in any aspect.
I think I have a good one there. And it's just not my younger self, but I've given this to other folks. The biggest thing is building that sense of confidence that you can handle different situations and get through them. And you may not always, there's this fear of failure that we all have that I think is a real challenge for us. And in fact, I heard one parent describe that, or one person describe that their parents, their parents used to ask them every day, "How did you fail today?" And they would expect them to come home every day and tell them how they failed. And this is one thing in life when I as we talked about, I whitewater kayaking. And when I started, there's this fear of, I'm going to flip, I'm going to swim, and it causes you not to push yourself. And so I think we all have this fear of failure, this fear of rejection. When I reflect back on my younger self, if I was single and I'd want to meet someone, I'd be nervous about going up and saying hi to someone. And I realized what I should have done was set a goal to get turned down 20 times. And if I then just said, I need to get turned down 20 times, now each time doesn't feel so bad. And I used that when I was whitewater kayaking. I said, I have to flip 10 times before I get off. And so as soon as you get over this fear of failure, then you learn to realize that actually failure doesn't come as much as you think. And you succeed more often than you fail, and you're not afraid of failure. So, and then you build confidence that you can take on new things.
Okay, that's really interesting that you say that. Because I am a huge advocate for teaching people from a very young age that failure is one of the most useful things that can happen in your life. And for me, I didn't understand that concept until probably my 3rd or end of 2nd year in college. I was always a 4.0 student, and I stressed out so much about my grades. And it took me to the point of battling, you know, trying to keep a 4.0 in college. And finally, I got a professor that I really struggled learning from. And I got a B plus. And so my GPA went to 3.96. And after kind of coping with that, I stopped looking so much towards like my learning process as keeping a perfect grade and being afraid to get anything lower, and more towards just like being able to learn and just making sure that even if I'm not learning what the teacher's teaching exactly, I'm learning what I need to know to do what I want to do in life. And that has helped me exponentially in just applying like that advice into other aspects of my life too. And that's actually like when I was starting streaming, I was like, oh, I don't have an overlay that looks great. Like I don't know what to talk about. But finally, this was actually around the same time that I went through, you know, this breakthrough moment for me. I decided, well, I mean, if nobody shows up or if people do and don't like me, that's fine. I'm just gonna just do this and improve as time goes on. And that's what I've been doing.